ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிருக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரௌ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரௌ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरनभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी द्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरधाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നിറജലോചനാനിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞാനെ കുമ്പീരേണ്ട തോറും രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. All right, so we'll get started. We'll do the review of 95. Let me see. I think it looks like we're small. Who wants to do any? Two people can do half of 95.
I can do.
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay, go ahead, Lakshmi. Yeah, Madhu, go ahead. Yeah, you start, Madhu, and then Lakshmi, you second half.
Om Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Dasakam 95 Kaivalya Siddhi Prakara Varnanam. आदौ हैरण्यगर्भी तनुमविकलजीवात्मिकामास्थितस्त्वं जीवत्वं प्राप्य माया गुणगणखचितो वर्तसे विश्वयोने तत्रोद्वृद्धेन सत्त्वेन तु गुणयुगलं भक्तिभावं गतेन छित्त्वा सत्त्वं च हित्वा पुनरनुपहितो वर्तिता हि त्वमेव सत्त्वोन्मेषात् कदाचित् खलु विषयरसे दोषबोधेऽपि भूमन् भूयोऽप्येषु प्रवृत्तिः सतमसि रजसि प्रोधते दुर्निवारा चित्तं तावद् गुणाश्च ग्रथितमिह मिथः तानि सर्वाणि रोद्धुं तुर्ये त्वय्येकभक्तिः शरणमिति भवान् हंसरूपी न्यगादीत् सन्ति श्रेयांसि भूयांस्यपि रुचिभिदया कर्मिणां निर्मितानि क्षुद्रानन्दाश्च सान्ता बहुविधगतयः कृष्ण तेभ्यो भवेयुः त्वं चाचख्यातसख्ये ननु महिततमां श्रेयसां भक्तिमेकां त्वद्भक्त्यानन्दतुल्यः खलु विषयजुषां सम्मदः केन वा स्यात् त्वद्भक्त्या तुष्टबुद्धेः सुखमिह चरतो विच्युताशस्य चाशाः सर्वास्युः सौख्यमय्यः सलिलकुहरगस्येव तोयैकमय्यः सोऽयं खल्विन्द्रलोकं कमलजभवनं योगसिद्धीश्च हृद्याः नाकाङ्क्षत्येतदास्तां स्वयमनुपतिते मोक्षसौख्येऽप्यनीहः त्वद्भक्तो बाध्यमानोऽपि च विषयरसैरिन्द्रियाश् शान्तिहेतोः भक्त्यैवाक्रम्यमाणैः पुनरपि खलु तैर्दुर्बलैर्नाभिजय्यः सप्तार् दहति किल यथा भूरिदारुप्रपञ्चं त्वद्भक्त्या त्वद्भक्त्या त्वद्भक्त्ययोगे तथै त्वद्भक्
त्वद्भक्त्योगे
त्वद्भक्त्योगे तथैव प्रदहति दुरितं दुर्मदः क्वेन्द्रियाणाम्
चित्तार्द्रे भावमुच्चैर्वपुषि च पुलकम् हर्षबाष्पं च हित्वा चित्तं शुध्येतु कथं वा किमु बहुतपसा विद्यया वीतभक्तेः त्वद्गाता स्वादसिद्धाञ्जन सततमरीमृज्यमानोऽयमात्मा चक्षुर्वत्तत्त्वसूक्ष्मं भजति न तु तथाभ्यस्तया तर्ककोट्या it's hearing right. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. ध्यानं ते शीलयेयं समतनुसुखबद्धासनो नासिकाग्रन्यस्ताक्षः पूरकाद्यैः जितपवनपथश्चित्तपद्मं त्ववाञ्छम् ऊर्ध्वाग्रं भावयित्वा रविविदुषिकिनः संविचिन्त्योपरिष्टात् तत्रस्तं भावये त्वां सजलजलधरः श्यामलं कोमलाङ्गम् आनीलश्लक्षकेशं ज्वलितमकरसत्कुण्डलं मन्दहासस्यन्दार्द्रं कौस्तुभश्रीपरिगतवनमालोरुहाराभिरामम् श्रीवच्चाङ्कं सुबाहुं मृदुलसदुदरं काञ्चनच्छायचेलं चारुस्निग्धोरुमम्बोरुहललितपदम् भावयेऽहं भवन्तम् सर्वाङ्गेष्वङ्गरङ्गत्कुतुकमिति मुहुर्धारयन्नीश चित्तं तत्राप्येकत्र युञ्जे वदन सरसिजे सुन्दरे मन्दहासे तत्र लीनं तु चेतः परमसुखचिदद्वैतरूपे वितन्वन् अन्यन्नो चिन्तयेयं मुहुरिति समुपारूढयोगो भवेयम् इत्थं त्वध्यानयोगे सति पुनरनिमाध्यष्टसंसिद्धयस्ताः दूरश्रुत्यादयोऽपि यहमहमकिया सम्पतेयुर्मुरारे त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्बावहमखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात् श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
So we'll start with 96 today. So I had a question. I'll start with 96 today. Bhagavat Vibhuti Varnam, which is Vibhuti is glories, praising the glories of Bhagavan. So later on, I'll summarize how 90 to 96, 97 are all, and they're all connected to each other. It's a progression, but we'll finish till 97, then I'll stitch that together. Okay, Shailaja Praveen, you can be a student. Then Padmaja Mekuntam, you can be a student. Okay, stanza 1. त्वं हि ब्रह्मैव साक्षात् परमुरुमहिमन् अक्षराणामकारः तारो मन्त्रेषु राज्ञां मनुरसि मुनिषु त्वं भृगुर्नारदोऽपि प्रह्लादो दानवानां पशुषु च सुरभिः पक्षिणां वैनतेयो नागानामस्यनन्तः सुरसरिदपि च स्रोतसां विश्वमूर्ते. So when you have to go and talk about the greatness of somebody, right? You want to tell how great somebody is, right? So it is easy. Most of us have like limited, skills, right? So you can say that this person is a really good cook and this person cooks really well, or this person really, dances well, or whatever it is. We all have limited skills. But when you have to talk about the glories of Bhagavan, how do you go about even describing that, right? So you can't say you are a good creator, you can't say you are a good doing this, right? So the way they do it is they first go by going and taking the best of everything and then saying you're better than the best that is actually out there, right? That's the only way you can define. Otherwise, how else can we talk about the glories? So here it first starts by saying you are a Vishwamurti, means the whole world is contained in you, right? This, of course, you all know Vishnu Sahasranamam, the Dhyana Stogam of Vishnu Sahasranamam beautifully captures this, that Bhuvpado Yasyana Virvira Suranilas Chandra Surya Uchanetre Karna Vasha Shirodhyor Mukamapi Dakano Yasya Vasteyam Agni. Anyway, it talks to how everything is contained in you. So you are the Vishwamurti, right? So now when you start talking about the saying that you are that Brahman, Tumhi Brahmaiva Sakshat. So the final source, the main source which is there, the supreme Brahman is you. So that means there's nothing else which that can come from. That is the ultimate source which is actually there. Among the letters, Aksharanam, among the letters, you are A. Now here, why are you saying I'll little bit give a different view of this in the third stanza, but for now just follow my flow. So the first letter that is coming there is A. So among the letters you are A, because in Sanskrit the word Kaha means Brahma, A means Vishnu. That is the general definition of letters which represent it. So among the Akshara you are the best letter which is there, which is A. Taro mantreshu. So among the mantras, any mantra which is actually about that, which is the most powerful mantra? The Pranava mantra is the most powerful. So you are that mantra. So when it comes to describing mantras, you are that Pranava mantra itself. So Rajñam Manurasi. So among the there are various types of rishis who are actually there. There are people like called as the Brahma Rishi, which are the rishis who have actually attained, who understand Brahman. Then there is the Deva Rishi. So the rishis who are among the Devas, there is a Rishi. Then there is a Raja Rishi. So among the rulers, there is actually a Rishi. So he says, among the Raja Rishis, you are Manu. So Manu, who is the ruler, because he is the ruler of the entire planet. So you are Manu among Raja Rishi. Among the Brahma Rishi, you are Brigur. And then among the Deva Rishis, you are Narada himself. So the greatest of the Deva Rishis. So among each of the Rishis, you are the best of each of those Rishis. Prahlado Danavanam, among the Asuras. So even the Asuras are also beings. Even the Asuras also have devotion. So even among the Asuras, you are the best of the asura. Who is the best of the asura? Is Prahlada. Even though he was born in the as a son of Hiranyakashipu, Narsimha took incarnation only to make Prahlada happy. So you are the best. Prahlada is the best among the Danavas. Pashu chusha surabihi. So among the animals, Pashu in this loosely referred to as animals here, is Surabhi. Surabhi is the cow which actually gives whatever you want. So there's no better animal than Surabhi because it gives whatever that is there. Pakshinam Vainateyo. Among the birds, you are Vaina. So Vinatha is the mother of Garuda. So because Garuda is born to Vinatha, he's called Vainateya. So among the birds, you are Garuda itself. Naganam Asya Nantaha. Among the snakes, you are Adishesha himself. So you are in that. Sura Saridapicha. So among the rivers, you are the river which is descended from the gods among the Sura, which is Ganges. So among the rivers, you are Ganges. So this way, you kind of this goes into one more stanza there. So we kind of describes the greatness by saying that among each of these categories, you are the best, which is actually there in that category. Tvam hi Brahmaiva Sakshat Paramuru Mahiman. There's a double na there. So first put a in. Paramuru Mahiman, comma. Next word starts with a. Aksharanam Akaraha. Visarga, comma. Next line is goes away. Taro Mantreshu, comma. Ragnyam Manurasi, comma again. So just so that you understand what each one there is. Ragnyam Manurasi, comma. Munishu Tvam Bhrigur Naradopi. Tvam he brahmaiva sakshat paramuru mahiman aksharanamakarah taro mantreshu rajnyam manurasi munishutvam bhrigur naradopi.
Tvam hi brahmaiva sakshat paramurumahiman akshara taro mantreshu rajnyam manurasi munishutvam bhrigur naradopi. Tvam hi brahmaiva sakshat paramurumahiman akshara taro mantreshu rajnyam manurasi munishutvam bhrigur naradopi.
Tvam hi brahmaiva sakshat paramurumahiman aksharanam taro mantreshu rajyam manurasi munishu tvam bhrigur naradopi.
That second line, but Ragnya, that nya sound. I know that's not there in Telugu, but it's Ragnyam.
Ragnyam, yeah. Tvam hi brahmaiva sakshat paramurumahiman aksharanam taro mantreshu rajnyam manurasi munishu tvam bhrigur naradopi.
Prahlado Danavanam, comma. Yeah.
And Asuranum Bhaktar சொன்னேன். So I just wanted to add a small அது வந்து what is the difference between devas the pure bhaktas and what blunder asuras does is they always prioritize themselves, their power, their authority over submission to God. So
because they
tavas பண்ணி வரத they will ask something for them. I should not be conquered. அவ வந்து எப்பவுமே வந்து எனக்கு ஒன்ன வேணும்னு கேட்டது கிடையாது. So that is the difference between devas and asuras.
Yeah, because when the asuras, the tamo guna is high. For anybody who's the tamo guna is high, then the ignorance, then they think that it's everything is for them, right?
ஆமா. They will அவ பௌதிகமா உள்ளது எல்லாமே கேப்பா. அவ ஒரு நாளுமே அவ பகவானே நீயும் எனக்கு வேணும்.
Yeah, but they also have access. You're right, absolutely right. Prahlado Danavanam, comma, Pashuchu cha Surabihi, comma, Pakshinam Vainateyo, comma. So just a comma after each of those sections. Naganam. Okay. Vainateyaha. Oh, okay. That's one sometimes the Teyaha, Teyo, they just change it depending on the book. So Teyo, just change it to Teyo. Naganam asyanantah. So that is goes away. Put a visarga comma. Naganam asyanantah. Sura sari dapicha. Srotasam vishwamurte. Prahlado danavanam. Pashuchucha surabihim. Pakshinam vainateyo. Naganam asyanantah. Sura sari dapicha. Srotasam vishwamurte.
प्रह्लादो दानवानां पशुचुषसुरभिः पक्षिणां वैनतेयो नागानामस्यनन्तः सुरसरिदपि च स्रोतसां विश्वमूर्ते प्रह्लादो दानवानां पशुचुषसुरभिः पक्षिणां वैनतेयो नागानामस्यनन्तः सुरसरिदपि च स्रोतसां विश्वमूर्ते
प्रह्लादो दानवानां पशुषु च सुरभिः पक्षिणां वैनतेयो नागानामस्यनन्तः सुरसरिदपि च स्रोतसां विश्वमूर्ते
Padmaja, that fourth line, Naganam, when you're saying im, it becomes Asyanantaha, A sound there, okay? After that.
नागानाम् अस्य
Yeah.
प्रह्लादो दानवानां पशुषु च सुरभिः पक्षिणां वैनतेयो नागानाम् अस्यनन्तः सुरसरिदपि च स्रोतसां विश्वमूर्ते
Answer two. Brahmanyanam balistvam kratushu japayajnosi vireshu partho bhaktanam uddhavastvam balamasi balinam dhamatejasvinam tvam nastyantastvат vibhutehe vikasat atishayam vastu sarvam tvameva tvam jivastvam pradhanam yadiha bhavadrite tanna kinchet prapanche. So among the people who, like I said, the Brahmana word means the people who are very devoted, right? Who have control. So among this Brahmanas, you are Mahabali, because Mahabali, even though he was again, like what you said, Leslie, even though he's born in the clan of the Asuras, in the lineage of Prahlada, anyways, grandson, but he still followed all the right instructions. He knew how to respect. And when Vamana Avataram came, even though he knew it was Hari who was come in the form of Vamana, and Shukracharya said no, he still went and did. So he knew how to follow the rules. He knew all of that. So among the Brahmanas, you are Bali. Among the Japa yajnas, among the yajnams, among the sacrifices, and sacrifices here means that all the things you need to do to offer to Lord. So among the things you are Japa. So, like say, Kim Japan Muchyate Jantur Janma Samsara Bandhanat. So it's like a yajnam. So among the sacrifices you do, the Japam is the highest. So doing the mantra Japam, Nama Japam is the highest there. Vireshu Partho. So among the people who are brave, you are Partha, you are Arjuna. Bhaktanam Uddhavastvam. Like we said, there are so many great devotees. How do you pick the greatest of the devotees? The greatest of the devotee in this case is said as Uddhava in the context of Krishna, because even at the time when Krishna was leaving earth, he had Uddhava on his side. And then he gave Uddhava all the information and he said, like Uddhava was ready to come with Krishna, but Krishna said, no, I want you to stay back. Again, it's a long story. So, Uddhava, among the greatest of the devotees, you are Uddhava. Then Balamasi Bhalinam. So you're stronger than the strongest, and then among anything that actually shines, you are shinier than anything that actually shines. So he says, with this, you can just keep going, right? There's no end. You can pick any category and say in that category, whoever is the best, that is you, right? And we can compare it to it and say you are the best here. Now, when we say Aksharanam Akaraha, when we started by saying that, won't the other alphabets get upset about it? They'll say, what about Ba, Kha, Sa, Ta, right? They'll all get upset. When we say among the rivers, you are Ganges, what about Yamuna? What about Kaveri? Even what about the Kuvam, which is in Chennai, right? Which is dirty water. Won't all of those also get offended, saying even we are creations of Bhagavan, right? So the answer is Vastu Sarvam Tvameva. You are every single thing, right? By saying that Aksharana Makaraha does not mean you are not the other letters, right? You are everything, and there is nothing in this world which is not you. right? So that is the takeaway in this. This absolutely, that's what he said. Yediha bhavate tanna kinchit. You are this nothing in this world which is not you. So you cannot say that only the good is what Bhagavan is, right? So when you prepare something, you can't say I'm only going to give the best to Bhagavan, because everything is Bhagavan. It's only said like that just to say how else can you praise somebody, right? So we are used to praising in superlative terms, comparative terms. So because of that, we say that. But in reality, it says you are absolutely everything. There is absolutely nothing in this world that is actually not you. So that is the way you can praise the glory of the Lord. Brahmanyanam balistvam, comma, kratushu cha japayagnosi, comma, veereshu partho, comma, bhaktanam uddhavastvam, comma, balamasi balinam, comma, dhama tejasvinam tvam.
அகைன் செகண்ட் லைன்ல வந்து அந்த பார்த்தஹான்னு இருக்கு, வீரேஷு பார்த்தஹா.
Partho, partho. And when you're writing that letter individually, it is partha. It is because it's one person, right? Partha. But when it comes as a part of a sentence, normally they change it to O there and the Mari context. But and some books write it different. That's okay. Brahmanyanam balistvam kratushu cha japayagnosi veereshu partho bhaktanam uddhavastvam balamasi balinam dhama tejasvinam tvam.
ब्रह्मण्यानां बलिस्त्वं क्रतुषु च जपयज्ञोऽसि वीरेषु पार्थो भक्तानामुद्धवस्त्वं बलमसि बलिनां धाम तेजस्विनां त्वं ब्रह्मण्यानां बलिस्त्वं क्रतुषु च जपयज्ञोऽसि वीरेषु पार्थो भक्तानामुद्धवस्त्वं बलमसि बलिनां धाम तेजस्विनां त्वम्.
ब्रह्मण्यानां बलिस्त्वं क्रतुषु च जपयज्ञोऽसि वीरेषु पार्थो भक्तानाम् उद्धवस्त्वं बलमपि बलिनां धाम तेजस्विनां त्वं ब्रह्मण्यानां बलिस्त्वं क्रतुषु च जपयज्ञोऽसि वीरेषु पार्थो भक्तानाम् उद्धवस्त्वं बलमपि बलिनां धाम तेजस्विनां त्वम्.
Padmachakaru, second line, middle word, balamasi. I heard you say api.
Oh, yeah, I have balamapi. That
Okay.
is the reason why. Yeah,
Okay,
I will
balam
correct
asi,
it.
sa
Balam.
sound, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Nastyantas tvat vibhutehe. Put a visarga comma, vibhutehe, comma. Next word, the V, there's a ir that goes away. Vikasat atishayam vastu sarvam tvameva, comma. Tvam jivas tvam pradhanam, comma. Yadiha bhavadrite tanna kinchit prapanche. नास्त्यन्तस्त्वद्विभूतेः विकसत् अतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे.
नास्त्यन्तस्त्वद्विभूतेः विकसततिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे. नास्त्यन्तस्त्वद्विभूतेः विकसदतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे.
नास्त्यन्तस्त्वद्विभूतेः विकसदतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे. नास्त्यन्तस्त्वद्विभूतेः विकसदतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवद्रुते तेन किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे
Last line, tanna kinchit prapanche.
तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे Thank you.
Sansatri. Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipatavihitam tvatparatvena bhaktya kurvantontar virage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante satta spurtit priyatvatmakamakhila padarteshu bhinneshva bhinnam nirmoolam vishwamoolam paramamahamiti tvad vishuddham. So we saw about some of this like among the various categories. Now the different categorization, right? So there are 4 ashramas that we pass through, which just means that there are 4 stages, right? So first there is a brahmachari stage, then there's a grahastha householder, which is all the stage we are in. Then when you renounce that, then you go to vanaprastha, then finally you become a sannyasi. That's the 4 recommended stages, right? That is there as ashramas. Then we also have the varnas. Now, varnas doesn't mean caste like it is. It is about what you do. Like we all do everything, right? So there are the people who are the brahmanas, who are the priests, the gurus, the kshatriyas, who are warriors, administrators, vaishyas, who are, like the merchants and the money-making people, and then the shudras, who are laborers. We all do everything. Now, in no matter which varna you are in, or no matter which stage of the ashrama you are in, the rules are all the same. It doesn't matter what you do. It is you have to perform those duties sincerely as properly laid out. And main thing, like we spoke earlier, is dedicate your actions to God with devotion. So that rule is consistent no matter which stage you are in, or which of these ashrama, which of the type of varnas you are in as well, right? Because he says that is the only way that you're going to get the detachment, right? And that detachment or that realization that we saw about who I am, and Bhagavan is inside of me, and I am inside of the world created by the Bhagavan. That rule, that concept doesn't change for anybody. So he says, it is nothing like one is greater than the other. That's what they're trying to say here, right? Saying that anybody in any of these 4 categories, in any of those 4 stages of the life, can come to that realization. And whoever comes to that realization is going to get liberated. So it doesn't have to be that you can only get liberated. You cannot get liberated if you're a Shudra, or you cannot get liberated if you are a Brahmachari. There's no such rule. That's what they're saying. Because at the end of the day, these are all part of the same Bhagavan. It's his creation. It's just what you do and how you do. So that's what it's trying to say is you are the cause of everything, and realizing you in anybody in any stage is going to get, will benefit and get liberated from that. Dharmam varnashramanam shruti pata vihitam, tvat paratvena bhaktya, kurvantontar virage, vikasati shanakaihi, put a is to join, shanakais santyajanto labhante. Dharmam varnashramanam shruti pata vihitam tvatparatvena bhaktya kurvantontar virage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante.
धर्मं वर्णाश्रमाणां श्रुतिपथविहितं त्वत्परत्वेन भक्त्या कुर्वन्तोत्तरविरागे विकसति शनकैः सन्त्यजन्तो लभन्ते धर्मं वर्णाश्रमाणां श्रुतिपथविहितं त्वत्परत्वेन भक्त्या कुर्वन्तोत्तरविरागे विकसति शनकैः सन्त्यजन्तो लभन्ते.
And the second line, like virage, there's a pause. Okay, Shailaja, second line.
Okay, thank you.
धर्मं वर्णाश्रमाणां श्रुतिपथविहितं त्वत्परत्वेन भक्त्या कुर्वन्तोऽन्तर्विरागे विकसति शनकैः सन्त्यजन्तो लभन्ते धर्मं वर्णाश्रमाणां श्रुतिपथविहितं त्वत्परत्वेन भक्त्या कुर्वन्तोऽन्तर्विरागे विकसति शनकैः सन्त्यजन्तो लभन्ते
Satta spurti priya Tvatmakam, just breaking at that ma there, Tvatmakam Akhila Padarteshu. So that whole sentence is going to go together. So Satta Spurti Priya Tvatmakam Akhila Padarteshu Bhinneshwa Bhinnam, comma, Nirmoolam Vishwamulam Paramamahamiti, comma, Tvat Vibhodam Vishuddham. Satta Spurti Priyatvatmakamakhila Padarteshu Bhinneshwa Bhinnam Nirmoolam Vishwamulam Paramamahamiti Tvat Vibodham Vishuddham.
सत्ता स्फूर्तिप्रियत्वात्मकमखिलपदार्थेषु भिन्नेष्वभिन्नं निर्मूलं विश्वमूलं परममहमिति त्वद्विबोधं विशुद्धम् सत्ता स्फूर्तिप्रियत्वात्मकमखिलपदार्थेषु भिन्नेष्वभिन्नं निर्मूलं विश्वमूलं परममहमिति त्वद्विबोधं विशुद्धम्
सत्ता स्फूर्ति प्रियत्वात्मकम् अखिल पदार्थेषु भिन्नेष्वभिन्नं निर्मूलं विश्वमूलं परममहमिति त्वद्विबोधं विशुद्धम् सत्ता स्फूर्ति प्रियत्वात्मकम् अखिल पदार्थेषु भिन्नेष्वभिन्नं निर्मूलं विश्वमूलं परममहमिति त्वद्विबोधं विशुद्धम्.
And suppose Jnanam Karmapi Bhakti Stritayamiha Bhavat Prapakam Tatra Tavat Nirvinnanam Sheshe Vishya Iha Bhavet Jnana Yoge Dhikaraha Saktanam Karma Yogaha Tvaihi Vinihito Yetu Natyanta Saktaha Napyatyantam Viraktaha Tvaicha Dhritarasa Bhakti Yogo Hyamisham. I know Krishna has talked a lot about this in Bhagavad Gita, but like I said, this Uddhava Gita, which happens also, is something very similar. There are a lot of the similar concepts are explained. And here to Uddhava, Krishna is laying out the three yogas, which we all are familiar with. But Uddhava asks a question saying that, how does one know which of these path is best for them? So how do we know whether Bhakti Yoga is better for us, or Karma Yoga is better, or Jnana Yoga is better? Sorry, my internet connection. Sorry, I think the internet connection is saying unstable. I don't know why. Okay. I don't know if you lost me briefly there. But, Uddhava is asking, saying, how do we know which of these paths is actually better? Which is a valid question, right? How do you know which path you need to take? So at a very high level, because I know there's more details here. So Krishna lays out like a template for you to figure out which of these paths make sense to you, right? So he says the Jnana Yoga, which is the path of knowledge, is best for people who are frustrated with like the material life that we actually have here, right? They say, I don't care for any of these things that is actually happening there. People go after luxury clothes, people go after luxury things. I don't actually care about any of these pleasures which are actually out there. I'm frustrated with this ordinary life that the material life that we are actually living in. And if you remember, one of the Dasakam started with Bandhu Sneham Vijahyam Tavahi Karunaya, saying, please give me the strength to detach myself from my friends and relatives, right? So anybody who is in that mode, he says, for them, this Jnana Yoga is a better path, because it is more about intellectual curiosity, philosophical speculation, and all of that. And for that, you cannot get attached to anything. You have to be able to renounce everything. And that is the best way to go towards Jnana Yoga. So he says, for anybody who has got that mindset, the Jnana Yoga is the best path for them. The Karma Yoga is for people who are not yet, they still have attachment. They still feel that I have a lot of desires in my life. I'm very attached to my family. I'm very attached to the society, my friends, and everything. And I don't want to quite actually get liberated. I want to do good things, but I am actually expecting some things in return, right? As a result of doing all these good things. So anyway, you can't do bad things, but for the good things you do, you are expecting some return. So anybody who is in that state of mind, which a lot of us are, right? Because any good thing we do, we feel something we need to get in return. He says for them, Karma Yoga is better. Not because you have to expect anything in return, but it says that, so I think you all are freezing for me briefly. I think my internet is unstable. I don't know what else to do. Okay, so he says for people who are who are attached to things like that, who do things, he says the karma yoga is better because you can step by step start giving things to Bhagavan, which is by saying, I'm going to do one good thing today to somebody else. And that good thing I'm doing to somebody else, I don't want the benefit of it. Right? I'm going to give that Sarvam Krishnarpa Namastu. I'm going to offer it to Bhagavan. Start with one thing a day, which is easy to start with, right? So with that, you can actually gradually develop that vairagyam or detachment towards material things. And then you still continue doing your duties for your family, for your friends, for your society, but you won't get bound by it. So he says that path is good for people who are in karma yoga. That is the path that is better. But most people are somewhere in between. They're saying that, look, I'm not completely detached. I'm not completely attached either. And for me, I don't want to break my brain in trying to understand what the Supreme Brahman is. I am very interested in chanting. I'm interested in hearing stories about Bhagavan, about singing about Bhagavan and talking about it. Bhakti yoga is the best path for all of those people because you don't have to do anything different. You continue to do what you like doing. You like attending parayanams, you like listening to stories of Bhagavan. Just continue to do that upanyasams. That is the best path for people who are in Bhakti yoga. That is a Bhakti margam. So with that, he says there's nothing like one is better than. He's going to say why Bhakti is relatively easier, but there's nothing like one is better than the other. It all depends on individual inclinations and how your mindset is. Jnanam karmapi bhaktis tritayamiha, bhavat prapakam tatra tavat, put it, comma. Next line, the double na, one of the na goes away. Nirvinnanam asheshe. Can break at that ma there. Nirvinnanam asheshe. Vishaya iha bhavet, comma. Jnana yogedhikaraha. Jnanam karmapi bhaktistritayamiha. Bhavat prapakam tatra tavat. Nirvinnanamasheshe vishaya iha bhavet jnana yoge dhikaraha.
ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्तृतयमिह भवत्प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विन्नानामशेषे विषयैः भवेत् ज्ञानयोगेऽधिकारः ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्तृतयमिह भवत्प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विन्नानामशेषे विषयैः भवेत् ज्ञानयोगेऽधिकारः
ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्त्रितयमिह भवत्प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विण्णानाम् अशेषविषयैः भवेत् ज्ञानयोगोऽधिकारः.
Jnana yogedhikaraha.
Yeah, I will change. ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्त्रितयमिह भवत्प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विण्णानाम् अशेषविषयैः भवेत् ज्ञानयोगेऽधिकारः.
Or second line, first word, nirvinnanam asheshe. Something there.
अशेषे.
Okay.
निर्विण्णानाम् अशेषे.
Saktanam karma yogaha, that is goes away, visarga comma yogaha. Tvai hi vinihito yetu natyanta saktaha, comma. Napyatyantam viraktaha. Again, the is goes away, visarga comma. Tvai cha dhritarasa bhakti yogo hyamisham. Saktanam karma yogaha. Tvaihi vinihito yetu natyanta saktaha napyatyantam viraktaha tvai cha dhritarasa bhakti yogo hyamisham.
सक्तानां कर्मयोगः त्वयि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम् सक्तानां कर्मयोगः त्वयि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्.
Rajeshji, I have Dhrita Rasaha. There's a Visarga before the Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah, you can remove that one. Yeah.
सक्तानां कर्मयोः त्वयि हि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम् सक्तानां कर्मयोः त्वयि हि
Karma yoga.
योगः ओके सक्तानां कर्मयोगः त्वयि हि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्.
That's fine. Jnanam tvadbhaktatam va lagu sukritavashan martyaloke labhante tasma tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan nakago narako va avishtam mam tu daivat भवझल निधिपो तायिते मर्त्यदेहे त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुम् अनुगुणवातायितस्तारयेथाः. So some of it we've discussed before, but it says that the human birth, and we will not realize it now, no matter how many times somebody tells us, hundreds of times people tell us, we will never realize it right now, because it's always we are in the moment, right? We are in that birth right now. But we have to trust when people say that the birth of being born as a human is very rare, and it's a very opportune birth, because it actually gives you an opportunity to realize, right, what that supreme is, and to make the right choices. And then you're also in a state of challenges. He says, because when even the residents who are in heaven and the hell, they say they desire the human birth because it gives the fastest acceleration path towards spiritual advancement, which is why people take the human birth, right, which is there. And in that human birth also, getting an opportunity to be devoted only comes because of all the significant amount of good deeds that we have all done in our past lives, right? So anyway, so here it says, that's why it's very important to, number one, realize that, because until and unless we realize it, we will always continue to keep doing the mistakes. So it says it's a very valuable opportunity that we cannot put it to waste. And more over a period of time, we need to start developing detachment, because if we keep getting stuck, like I always keep going back to the Jada Bharata in the Dasakam 20, I briefly said that. But that also where at the time of death, before few years before death, he got attached to a deer, right? And then the next time he realized what a big mistake it was. The next birth he realized it, right? Saying, I got such a great opportunity, I put it to waste, right? So those are all the stories and examples which tell us that we should not put this to use. Anyway, so he says this human life, right, is the best boat you can actually get over the world of samsara. Right? If you think of the entire samsara as an ocean, this body that we have is the boat, and then the wind is the Bhagavan's, the help is the wind, and the guru is the kind of the main rover. So with all of those, I will get over this samsara, get over this ocean of samsara with this boat. So please bless me to get that. So it's kind of like a prayer to say, please help me get over this. Jnanam tvat bhaktatam va, comma, laghu sukruta bashan martya loke labhante, comma, tasmat tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan, comma, nakago narakova. Shall I just repeat one time this one? Jnanam tvadbhaktatam va lagu sukritavashan martyaloke labhante tasmat tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan nakago narako va.
ज्ञानं त्वद्भक्ततां वा लघुसुकृतवशान् मर्त्यलोके लभन्ते तस्मात् तत्रैव जन्म स्पृहयति भगवन् नाकगो नारको वा.
ज्ञानं त्वद्भक्तानां वा लघुसुकृतवशान् मर्त्यलोके लभन्ते तस्मात् तत्रैव जन्म स्पृहयति भगवन् नाकगो नारको वा
First line, Tvat Bhaktatam Va.
भक्ततां वा
ராஜேஷ் இந்த மூணாவது தேர்ட் லைன்ல ஸ்ப்ருன்னு ஸ்ப்ருன்னு போட்டிருக்கு. ஆனா இங்க வந்து நம்ம ஸ்ப்ரன்னு சொல்றோம். அது
Sprihayati.
ஸ்பிருஹயத். ஓகே,
Yeah.
ஸ்பிருஹ். ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ.
Avishtam mam tu daivat, comma, bhava jala nidhi potayite martya dehe, comma, tvam kritva karnadharam gurum anuguna, just breaking at that ma, gurum anuguna vatayitas tarayetaha. So the last line is continuous. Avishtam mam tu daivat bhava jala nidhi potayite martya dehe tvam kritva karnadharam gurum anuguna vatayitas tarayetaha.
आविष्टं मां तु दैवाद् भवजलनिधिपोतायिते मर्त्ययितेः त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुमनुगुणवातायितस्तारयेताः.
Here potayite matyadehe. I have matyadehe.
Yeah, martya dehe.
Okay. आविष्टं मां तु दैवात् भवजलनिधि पोतायिते मत्यदेहे त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुम् वातायितस्तारयेथाः.
Okay, we'll switch halfway. Krishnanji, you can be a student, and Venkat, you can be a student. Stanza 6. Avyaktam margayantah shrutibhirapi nayai kevala jnana lubdhaha klishyante tiva siddhim bahutara janushamanta evapnuvanti durastha karma yogo picha parama pale nanvayam bhakti yogastvamooladeva hridyah tvaritamai bhavat prapako vardhatam me. So like even Krishna said, any of those three paths are absolutely fine. You can follow anything, right, in that. But he says, if anybody is following on the path of Kevala Jnana Yoga, if they're only on the path of Jnana Yoga, right? Because then you have to really understand that unmanifest Brahman, which is that you have to truly understand it, not just be able to talk about it. Anybody can talk about it or tell about it, but you have to truly understand that, right? For which it is a lot of things that actually needs to be studied, right? And it says it is not like one birth you can actually get over understanding that. There are so many births you need to take to constantly keep understanding. And that's absolutely fine approach. But it just takes really long approach, which is actually there. And then they say similarly, the karma yoga, which is actually doable, but it is very hard because the way we are conditioned in the society, it is very hard for us to say anything I do, I'm not going to get anything in return. So he says only because of those two reasons, right? He says bhakti yoga is beneficial and easy because it is simpler, right? All it says is, you just have to keep constantly be thinking about Bhagavan every single time in everything you are doing, and then constantly be devoted. He says because of that reason, bhakti yoga is relatively easier compared to karma yoga and jnana yoga, and it is also much more easier. You don't have to keep speculating and breaking your head around it, right? So he says that's why the prayer here is, may that bhakti grow in me really high, because I feel that is the easiest way for me to accomplish the end rather than going through the karma yoga or jnana yoga. Avyaktam margayantah, comma, Shrutibhirapi nayaihi, put a ih to join, nayaih, kevala jnana lubdhaha, comma, klishyantetiva, comma, siddhim bahutara janushamanta evapnuvanti. Avyaktam margayantah Shrutibhirapi nayaihi kevala jnana lubdhaha क्लिश्यन्ते तीव सिद्धिं बहुतर janushamanta evapnuvanti.
अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः स्तुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेऽतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति.
Krishnaji, second line after Klishyante tiva, there is a pause. Okay.
Okay. अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिविभरिनयैः केवलज्ञानलुप्ताः क्लिश्यन्तेऽतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति.
अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेऽतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति.
The first line, Margayantaha, comma there.
Okay. अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेऽतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजमनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति.
Durastaha, put a H sound to join it. Durastah, karma yogopi cha parama phale, then put a comma. Nanvayam bhakti yoga, put a plus. So we're going to join those two lines. Nanvayam bhakti yogas twamuladeva hridyaha. That is goes away. Visarga comma hridyaha. Tvaritamayi bhavat prapako vardhatam me. Durastah karma yogo picha parama phale. Nanvayam bhakti yogas twamula deva hridyaha. Tvaritamayi bhavat prapako vardhatam me.
दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगस्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वरितमयि भवत्प्रापको वर्धतां मे. दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परफले नन्वयं
Sorry. Up to that parama phale, you can say it together. Durastha karma yogo picha parama phale.
Durastha karma yogo picha parama phale nanvayam bhakti yogas twamula deva hridyaha turidamayi bhavat papako vardhatam me.
दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगः त्वामूलादेव हृदि त्वरितमयि भवत्प्रापको वर्धतां मे.
Third line, that bhakti yogas, that if you have a visarga, that just takes a is sound. Bhakti yogas twamula deva.
Okay. दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगः त्वामूलादेव हृदि त्वरितमयि भवत्प्रापको वर्धतां मे.
Third line again, your bhakti yogaha, you're saying it's bhakti yogas twamula deva.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. Visarga will take a is sound if you have a visarga there.
Yeah.
Stanza 7. Jnanhayaivaati yatnam mudirapavadate brahma tattvam tu shrinvanne gadham tvatpada bhaktim sharanamayiti yastasya mukteh karagre tvadhyane piha tulya punarasukarata chitta chanchalya hetoho abhyasadashu shakyam tadapi vashayitum tvatkrupa charutabhyam. So here refers to Muni. So again refers to, let's say, Vyasa, his feedback. Like we said, Vyasa has done everything. He has followed all the paths that is actually there to be followed, right? And he himself has said that it is very difficult for somebody to the reason he even compiled the Vedas into 4 was because people cannot understand all the things which are there in the Vedas. So he says, at least try to learn one. which itself is massive, right? So he says just the path of this intellectual, following that path of getting the knowledge is very, very hard. And then we also saw the path of Ashtanga Yoga, right? We said of how you have to control your mind, control your breath, all that. Even that is also an extremely hard path. So he says, even that Vyasa is actually saying the best way is Sharanam, and that's the reason, in although like, people mistake, right? Like even Srimad Bhagavatam talks extremely, excruciatingly about Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. But it gives hundreds of examples of people who have reached liberation through Bhakti Yoga. Because it's relatively easy. Like even if you look at Gajendra Moksham that we saw, right? The Gajendra, Dasakam 26, when you saw Gajendra Moksham. So the elephant just got liberated because it remembered about Bhagavan and called him at the right time. Right? We saw about Ajamilo Pakyana, we saw about Ambarisha Charitram, we saw about Dhruva Charitram, we saw about all of these Charitrams, all the reasons, all the stories are embedded. Prahlada, right? All of these are embedded only to show that the easiest path is through devotion. Like we saw about the Gopikas, we saw so many other examples in Krishna Avataram. So, which is what they're again saying that is while it is that for them, to them, Tasya Mukti Karagre. So, for them who are truly devoted, the liberation will be at their fingertips, right? It will be so easy to get it if you truly follow the Bhakti path because it's relatively easy. Jnana yaivati yatnam munirapa vadate, comma, Brahma tattvam tu shrinvanne, comma, Gadham tvat pada bhaktim, comma, Sharanamayati, yes, tasya muktihi, takes a ich sound, muktih karagre. Jnanhayaivati yatnam munirapavadate brahma tattvam tu shrinvanne gadham tvatpada bhaktim sharanamayati yastasya mukteh karagre.
ज्ञानायैतवादियज्ञम् मुनिरपवदते ब्रह्मतत्त्वं त्रिशृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे ज्ञानायैवादियज्ञां मुनिरवदते ब्रह्मतत्त्वं त्रिशृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे.
ज्ञानायैवाति यत्नं मुनिरपवदते ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तु शृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे. ज्ञानायैवाति यत्नं मुनिरपवदते ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तु शृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे.
Tvat dhyane piha tulya punara sukharata, comma, chitta chanchalya hetoho. So add a visarga there. Chitta chanchalya hetoho, visarga, comma. Next line, if you have a ra, that becomes a. Abhyasadashu shakyam, comma, tadapi vashayitum tvat kripa charutabhyam. So with your compassion, I will be able to get more of that bhakti. Twadhyane piha tulya punara sukarata chitta chanchalya hetoho abhyasadashu shakyam tadapi vashayitum tvat kripa charutabhyam.
ध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरदा चित्तचाञ्चल्यहेतोः अभ्यासादु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं तत्कृपाचारुदाभ्याम्. ध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरदा चित्तचाञ्चल्यखेदोः अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं कृपाचारुताभ्याम्.
That third line, last word, it's a ha sound. Hetoho.
Hetoho. Okay.
Punarasua, panarasua.
Punarasukarata.
Okay.
त्वध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरता चित्तचाञ्चल्यहेतोः अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं त्वत्कृपाचारुताभ्याम् त्वध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरता चित्तचाञ्चल्यहेतोः अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं त्वत्कृपाचारुताभ्याम्.
Third line after Punarasukarata, there's a pause. Okay, the third line. Answer 8. निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथादौ च गाढं जातः श्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुं तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजंस्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति सङ्घाः. So again, little bit, touches this, and then it gets into two very interesting stories, which are going to come in 9 and 10. So here it says, even that path of karma yoga, again, we all live path, and Krishnanji does a lot of, pujas, but he knows how hard it is to, consistently keep doing everything that you are doing over a long period of time, right? All the elaborate rituals. It is absolutely a great path, but it is very hard, right? It requires a lot of dedication and commitment, right, to be able to do it. And a lot of us don't end up doing it, right? So it says that path is also not an easy path. It is a very hard path, which is actually there, which people take. And however, but he says the bhakti, the other thing is, you just the Parikshit and others just heard the stories, right? They just heard. They don't even have to say. So he says by constantly hearing this, the advantage is what happens is step by step, your mind is actually getting purified, no matter which path you take. At the end of the day, it is all about purification of the mind, right? And as the mind gets purified, even if you start slipping down, right? If other desires come, other things kick in, your mind is going to kick in and then hold you back on that path. So here again, this is a little bit of a prayer saying, please, keep giving that towards me so that my mind doesn't get distracted and I don't get distracted with all the other desires and attachments which are coming. Nirvinnaha, put a ih sound, nirvinnah karma marge khalu vishamatame, comma, त्वत् कथादौ च गाढं, जात श्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते, again that, नैव शक्नोमि हातुम्. निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथादौ च गाढं जात श्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुम्.
निर्विण्णः कर्ममार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथातौ च गाढं जातशत्रोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोऽपि हातुम्. निर्विण्णः कर्ममार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथातौ च गाढं जातश्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोऽपि हातुम्.
निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथादौ च गाढं जातश्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुम्. निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथादौ च गाढं जातश्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुम्.
They talk, if you remember, I don't know if you remember, in Dasakam 18, we saw about this person called Prachina Barhishat, who are 18 or 19, where he did a lot of sacrifices, yajnams. So people used to do so many, right? Even sitting for one of them for 4 hours is so hard for us. So that's what it's saying, that all those paths are very hard paths, and it's very difficult for us to completely quit the desires we have of family and everything, and that's the reason. Anyway, tadbhuyo nischayena, त्वयि निहित मना दोष बुद्ध्या भजंस्तान्, Pushniyam bhakti meva tvayi hridaya gate, comma, mankshu nangshyanti sanghaha. Tadbhuyo nishchayena त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजंस्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति सङ्घाः.
तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजंस्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु निक्ष्यन्ति संकाः.
Last line, नङ्क्ष्यन्ति.
नङ्क्ष्यन्ति. तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजंस्तान् पुष्णीयं भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु निक्ष्यन्ति संकाः.
ராஜேஷ்ஜி
that word,
நிகித
Krishna,
மனாஹான்னு இருக்கு.
இந்த லைன்ல okay, so அதங்க விசர்க்காங்க தேவைப்படாது because da is coming, so you can remove that. Mine books doesn't have it also, but so you can remove that. Krishnaji, that the last line is nangshyanti.
Nangshyanti.
Yeah. And then there are some books like individual words. It's when you're saying the word individually, that word has a visarga. But depending on what comes after, sometimes the visarga is not written. So that's why the various books are the variations there.
तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजस्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेतत् त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति सङ्गाः.
Third line after nishchayena, there is a pause. Second word after the second word.
Okay. Okay. Tadbhuyo nischayena त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजस्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति सङ्गाः.
That's a 9. Kaschit kleshajitartakshaya vimalamatihi nudyamano janoghaihi pragevam praha vipro na khalu mama janah kalakarma grahava cheto me dukkha hetuhu tadiha gunaganam bhabayat sarvakari tyuktva shanto gatastvam mama chakuru vibho tadrushim chitta shantim. It's a very beautiful story here. So, one of the things that, when Krishna Uddhava conversation is actually happening, Krishna says that when you are in the path is, there are a lot of people who are going to insult you, they're going to ridicule you, and all kinds of things are going to happen, right? But he says the one who is in the highest of spiritual platform, you need to always make sure your intellect is always held. You should not get distracted with all of these things, right? Like we saw in one of those things, if you say Bhrata me Vandya Shiro, your own family might say, why are you doing all of these things? You'll all get all these distractions, but you should remain focused on it, right? So, but Uddhava says it's easy for you to say that, Krishna, but our mind is just so hard, right? Because our mind easily gets distracted, right? Because when somebody says anything negative or bad against us, immediately we get triggered, right? He says, how do I do this? So Krishna talks about the story about Brahmana who was there. Brahmana, he was devoted all of that stuff, but he was also a trader. He was also a businessman. But he was extremely greedy on one end, and he wanted a lot of money. At the same time, he was also very miserly, right? He didn't want to spend anything. So he had accumulated a lot of wealth, but his whole family did not like him because he was not spending money on them, right? So, but what happens over time, this money always goes off, right? So over time, he started losing his money. People came and stole it, people misused it, he just lost all his money. When he lost all his money, everybody abandoned him, including his own family. So that's when he came to then he thought, why is this happening to me? We all asked that question. Why is this happening to me alone? So the Brahmana also asked that question. Why is this happening to me? Then he's realized, after a lot of internal speculation, he realized that this is actually a blessing by Bhagavan, right? By making me lose everything, Bhagavan has made me realize that this money is actually the root cause of a lot of problems. So what he did was he finally felt relieved, and then he became a beggar because he had absolutely nothing. So he became a beggar, and then he composed a song which is called as a Bhikshu Gita. Bhikshu is a person who goes and begs. Gita is something which is sung. So a Bhikshu Gita he composed, where he says that everybody in the world blames everybody else for all the problems they have, right? We say it is either somebody else's problem because of which, or they say it is the stars which are causing the problem. But he says, no, the only person who is responsible for one's problem is one's own mind. It is because the mind is not able to separate out what to really, the intellect, right? Which is actually going to, like we said, not even the mind, it is the intellect which has to step in and actually help us understand why some things are happening. So he says, with this, he says he gave up everything, and people used to insult him, ridicule him, and all of that stuff. But he had completely given up all of those things, because anytime somebody used to insult him, he used to come back to his thought. It is okay, right? Let them insult me, let them insult my body. My soul does not get affected by anything anybody says, right? So with that knowledge and by getting his thing focused, he was able to overcome all of that stuff. So that is the example of this Bhikshu Gita of this Brahmana who is given. So he says, again, this is a prayer here saying, oh Guru Arpa, similar to this, give me tadrushim chitta shantim. So give me the strength to be able to get that peace of mind going, so that I don't get impacted by anything else that's actually happening outside of me, or when somebody does something to me, I don't get triggered with this, right? Kaschit klesharjitartha kshaya vimala matihi. So put a visarga comma, matihi. Then the next word, nudhya, there's an ir that is there on top that goes away. Nudhyamano janogaihi. Pragevam, a comma after that. Pragevam praha vipro na khalu mama janaha, comma. Kala karma grahava. Kaschit klesharjitartakshaya vimalamatihi nudhyamano janaugaihi pragevam praha vipro na khalu mama janaha kala karma grahava.
Kachchit klesharchidartha kshaya vimalamadihi nudyamano janaugaihi bhagevam praha vibho na khalu mama janaha kala karma grahava. Kaschit klesharjidartha kshaya vimalamadihi nudyamano janaugaihi bhagevam praha vibho na khalu mama janaha kala karma grahava.
कश्चित् क्लेशार्जितार्थक्षय विमलमतिः नुद्यमानो जनौगैः प्रागेवं प्राह विप्रो न खलु मम जनः कालकर्मग्रहावा. कश्चित् क्लेशार्जितार्थक्षय विमलमतिः नुद्यमानो जनौगैः प्रागेवं प्राह विप्रो न खलु मम जनः कालकर्मग्रहावा.
Cheto me dukkha hetuhu, that is goes away, visarga comma. Tadiha guna ganam bhavayat sarvakari, then put a plus. Tyuktva shanto gatastvam, and then comma. So third line after dukkha hetuhu, comma. Then fourth line after gatastvam, comma. Mamacha kuru vibho tadrushim chitta shantim. Cheto me dukkha hetuhu tadiha gunaganam bhavayat sarvakari tyuktva shanto gatastvam mamacha kuru vibho tadrushim chitta shantim.
Cheto me dukkha hetuhu dahida gunaganam bhavayat sarvakari tyukta shando gadastvam mama jakuru vibho tadrushim chitta shantim. Cheto me dukkha hetuhu dahida gunaganam bhavayat sarvakari tyukta shando gadastvam mama jakuru vibho tadrushim chitta shantim.
ராஜேஷ்ஜி அதுல இத்யுக்துவான்னு இருக்கு சர்வகாரி இத்யுக்துவா
ஆமா, அந்த இதி and uktva, அதை see sarva and the sarvakari iti uktva, and the three words, when it is joined together, it becomes sarvakari long e kyuktva.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why we put a plus there to say that whole thing together.
हेतो मे दुःख हेतुः तदिह गुणगणं भावयत् सर्वकारीत्युक्त्वा शान्तो गतस्त्वां मम च कुरु विभो तादृशीं चित्तशान्तिम् चेतो मे दुःख हेतुः तदिह गुणगणं भावयत् सर्वकारीत्युक्त्वा शान्तो गतस्त्वां मम च कुरु विभो तादृशीं चित्तशान्तिम्.
That's it. Ailaf pragurvashim pratyati vivashamanaha sevamanaschiram tam gadham nirvidya bhuyo yuvati sukhamidam kshudrami veti ghayan twadbhaktim prapya purnaha sukatharam acharat tadvad uddhuta sangham bhaktotam samkriyamam pavanapurapate hantame rundhi rogan. Another story embedded here to explain a concept. So there was this king called Pururava. So the king Pururava, he was a very famous king. So he was a very powerful king. He had access to the gods, to the demigods, right? So he and this Apsara, Urvashi, actually fell in love with each other. So King Puruvara tells Urvashi that you have to come and stay with me. So Urvashi says, I will stay with you on two conditions. One of them is she has a pet, it's sheep or some pet. She says you have to make sure that the pet is always taken care of. Like I don't want my pet to run away from me, right? That is condition number one. Condition number two, she says, is we cannot see each other naked, except when we are making love. So at that time, it's okay. Other than that, we cannot see each other naked. That was the second rule. So Puruvara agrees to it. So he was going on a particular path. He quit everything. He was a fake king. So he was just completely spending his time with Urvashi all the time. She was getting completely distracted, and that's all he was focused on. So Indra wanted Urvashi back. So what he does one day is he comes, and then the sheep or whatever pet of Urvashi is stolen. And when that happens, they both were making love. So this person, Urvashi, suddenly realizes that the pet has been stolen. She tells Purvara, you have to instantly go get my pet back. So Purvara forgets in what state he is in, and he starts running outside. He starts running outside, chasing after that sheep or the pet. At that time, there's a lightning that actually comes. And because of which there's light, right? It's dark, otherwise it's light. And then Urvashi sees him naked. So she says two things. My pet ran away. I saw you naked, so I'm going to run away. I'm going to leave you and go. So Urvashi leaves this king. Now this Purvara is standing stark naked, and everybody's looking at him. And he says, what state have I come down to? Right? I was a king who was actually ruling so well. I was prosperous. I was following the right path of devotion, everything. But suddenly I got distracted, right? Because of my mind, I started falling, for a female in this case. It also could apply other way around. And I started falling for this, and I could not control myself. And I'm now stuck in such a state. So anytime we come to such a state of being in the streets, like they say, right, then suddenly you come to a realization. So he then came to a realization that all of these things are distracting him from focusing on what is important. And it's very important that he controls his mind, controls his desires, and not fall for such things, right? So that incident came to a realization for him, and because of which he then renounced everything and got back on that path, which is very similar to when we saw the learnings from the 25 gurus. One example was there of a prostitute, right? I spoke about where, when she did not get anybody one day, she then made her realize her state of why am I coming down to such a state, right? And then that helped her quit it. So that was similar example here, right? Of coming to the dire state in the previous state of that Brahmana, as well as here of Puruvara, completely come to the bottommost possible, help them realize that. Ailaha, put a F. Ailaf pragurvashim pratyati vivashamanaha, sevamanas tam, gadham nirvidhya bhuyo yuvati sukhamidham, shudrameveti gayan. ऐलफ्रागुर्वशीं प्रत्यति विवशमनाः सेवमानश्चिरं तां गाढं निर्विद्य भूयो युवति सुखमिदं क्षुद्रमेवेति गायन्.
ராஜேஷ்ஜி ஐலே அப்படின்னு இருக்கு ஐலேஃப்.
இல்ல ஐலஹா, அது ஐலஹா தான். சோ ஐலஹ, அது விசர்கா டேக்ஸ் a f sound. ஐலஃப்.
ஓகே.
ऐलः फागुवंशीं प्रत्यदि विवशमानाः सेवनाश्चिरं तां गाढं निर्व्यद्य भूयो युवति सुखमिदं क्षुद्रमेवेदि गायन्.
The first line, the last word, sevamanash-chiram.
सेवमानश्चिरम्.
Yeah.
ऐलः फागुवंशीं प्रत्यदि विवशमानाः सेवमानश्चिरं तां गाढं निर्विद्य भूयो युवति सुखमिदं क्षुद्रमेवेदि गायन्.
After sukhamidam, in the second line, there is a pause. Okay. Yuvati
Sukhamidam. Okay.
So the Gayan here, so he then sung. He sung his lessons, which is called as the Aila Gita. So because he's Aila, so his Gita, the song that he sung, is called Aila Gita.
ऐलः प्रागुर्वशीं प्रेत्यति विवशमनाः सेवमानश्चिरं तां गाढं निर्विद्य भूयो युवति सुखमिदं क्षुद्रमेवेति गायन्. ऐलः प्रागुर्वशीं प्रेत्यति विवशमनाः सेवमानश्चिरं तां गाढं निर्विद्य भूयो युवति सुखमिदं क्षुद्रमेवेति गायन्.
When you go to the first line, last word is tam. I heard a twa sound. It's a ta sound. Tam.
Okay.
Tvad bhaktim prapya purnaha, comma. Sukha tharam. I'm just breaking at that ma there. Sukha tharam acharat tadvad udhuta sangham. So you can break it there. Charam taram acharat tadvat udhuta sangham, comma. Bhakto tamsam kriyamam, comma. Pavana purapate anta me rundhi rogan. So please make me bhakta uttama. So make me the greatest of your devotees and also eradicate the rundi rogan, eradicate the ailments I have. Tvad bhaktim prapya purnaha sukatharamachara tadvad uddhuta sangham bhaktotam samkriyamam pavana purapate hantame rundi rogan.
Bhaktim prapya purnah sukhatharam ajara tattvat uddhuya sangham bhaktoktam samkriyamam pavana purapate handame rundirogan.
The third line, uddhuta, ta sound. I heard something else. Uddhuta sangham.
Uddhuta sangham.
Yeah, correct.
Tot bhaktim prapya purnah sukhatharam ajara tattvat uddhuya sangham bhokta sattam kriyamam pavana purapate handame rundhirogan.
Again, the same word, uddhuya, you are saying. It's uddhuta sangham.
Oh, uddhuta. Okay, let me correct that. Uddhud ajara tattvat uddhuda sangham.
Yeah.
Tvad-bhaktim prapya purna sukha.
Purnaha.
Tvad-bhaktim prapya purnaha sukataram acharat tadvad
uddhuta.
Tadvad uddhuta sangam bhaktato tam samkriyamam pavanapurapate hantame rundhirogan. Tvad-bhaktim prapya purnaha sukataramachara tatvad uddhuta sangam bhakto tam samkriyamam pavanapurapate hantame rundhirogan.
Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. In the class here. सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone. Next class, we'll see beautiful Markandeya Charitram that is there in 97. Okay, so see you all next weekend. Bye.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Bye, everyone.